And yeah, I mean, we'll do whatever we can to get as possible and the city.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. It is 6 o'clock. I've called the meeting to order. We'll jump to number 2, roll call.
Matthew Lehane,
Here.
Gregory Goldstein, Brian Ogle,
Here.
Jamie Jackson, Aaron Frank. Oh, excuse me. Some members are online. Aaron Frank, Jacob Paswick. Here. Chris Clark. Here. Greg Pennington. Linda Lassuth.
Here.
Cassie Lord. Lee Anderson. Kim Mitchell. Deborah Foltz. Deborah Lately. Lynn Faust.
Here.
Rob Maple. Jim Lynch. Paul Carricker. Here. Joe Bonds. Kevin Brown. Clay Murray. Here. Thank you. All right.
All right, we will move on to item number 3, approval of the May 2nd, 2024 BPAC meeting agenda. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, all right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Move on to item number 4, approval of the March 7th, 2024 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, just
Comments? Yep.
just 2 quick comments. I noticed under the committee members not present, Matthew Decatur is identified as a Spotsylvania alternate with a question mark next to it. Yes, he is our alternate, so he's that'd be correct. And then under item 6 for discussion action items, I just wanted to emphasize on that discussion with the East Coast Greenway that I did just throw it out there as I try to do that. We need to work with them again on getting that Caroline County reroute settled. So that was just a reminder, I think, that happened around that part of the agenda. That's it. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
I have a really minor comment that doesn't even include me, but I'll mention it anyway. Becky Golden is listed with Becky in the members up top and Rebecca at the in the comment section. Again, super minor.
Our intern is doing the minutes now. She's doing a fantastic job, but there's something to know about folks. So
Okay.
All right, with that one minor change to Becky's name, I think we are good to go.
Move to approve as with the changes.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, move on to public involvement. There are 2 items under public involvement that are currently out for public comment by the FAMPO Policy Committee. The first is the FY25 UPWP, and second is FY25 through 30 CMAC, STBG, CRP, and HIP funding. If FAMPO staff wants to give any further comments, otherwise.
to let you both know that these are live links you can click on to find out more. Those comments.
All right. We will move on to our actual public comment section. Comments and questions from members of the public are welcome at this time. Is there anyone in the room or online who wishes to give public comments? All right, 3 minutes.
And members of the committee, my name is Alan Watkins. I live at 12 England Run Lane in Stafford. That's in the George Washington district. I'm sorry that I can't say that I'm up to speed with everything that this committee has been up to, but I have to imagine there has been some discussion regarding the potential Rappahannock River Bridge and Parkway, especially since a component of the concept includes a bike and pedestrian path and a bump out wherever the river crossing is. I love the idea of cyclists and walkers and joggers having access to this unique path. But I have a few questions that I have for you, things that I'd like you to be able to think about. If I am biking somewhere or walking or jogging, it sure helps if I have a destination, a place that I want to get to. So what is the place that I want to get to if I'm crossing the bridge into Stafford? What along Route 17 would be the attraction? If I'm heading into Fredericksburg from Stafford, that I could figure out with no problem. Essentially, what I'm saying is Stafford needs something to attract pedestrians and cyclists. And myself and a number of other Stafford citizens have been working to create that kind of a destination. By getting the developer of a proposed Belmont Industrial Park to return to earlier plans that they had for the intended location, which included an indoor athletic facility and fields. Also, I'd like you to think about the actual spot where the crossing of the river takes place and what pedestrians and cyclists might find appealing to experience. Looking out, I'm sorry, I'm so disjointed here, but over the river, would it be appealing if the crossing is a couple hundred feet away from the I-95 bridge? You essentially would be looking in the opposite direction from I-95, and it might be a bit noisy if that option that's closest to the bridge winds up being chosen, something to consider. Or if any of the other three options that are much further west away from the I-95 bridge were to be chosen, I imagine that might be a little bit quieter and provide multiple viewing angles of the river. I'm just wondering if this committee has yet considered these types of factors when providing their input later on to the consultant and to our county and city leaders. Again, including active people that are using the bridge and parkway without having to use four wheels is a fantastic idea. I just hope to make that journey as engaging as possible. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else in the room or online who wishes to make public comment? All right, with that, I will close the public comment section.
There's
Yeah.
previously submitted comments.
There are, but I just realized they're a little bit confusing. So I'll start with the one that isn't confusing and see if the other ones switch themselves up. We have the first one from Jeff Axt. Hi, everyone. I wanted to follow up because unfortunately I missed yesterday's meeting due to having COVID. My neighbor Kelly Schmidt gave me an update. I'm super excited to hear about the proposed speed humps on Keeneland Road and the Route 1 crossing at Cowan Crossing. I hope those come to fruition sooner than later. I was disappointed, however, that there was no proposal for the Keeneland Westwood Falling Creek intersection, which I've been raising concerns about for 5 years now. Kelly said she spoke with someone named Rakesh who had not heard any complaints about this intersection. I tried to find him online, but could not. Could you please loop him in on this email? I'm reattaching my previous proposals, which I thought might be helpful. This intersection is treacherous in a car or on foot. People often blow through the stop sign on Keeneland, and there's no stop sign in the opposite direction. If it would be helpful, I could gather a petition from neighbors. Anyone you talk to in this subdivision will attest to the scary nature of this intersection. I would, of course, love a sidewalk and crosswalks as outlined in the attached proposal, but it sounds like Rakesh might have some other ideas, e.g. a very wide speed hump, which I'm very open to. Anything to make it safer for Westwood residents. Note, the sidewalk I propose runs through Kelly's property, and she and her husband support the idea. Lastly, I was also disappointed that the city's current proposal seems to be printed wrong. Apologies. Can you stop that for a second? I have to apologize as a citizen. The last part of this thing seems to be lost. I've gotten these from somebody else.
Can you try and find it digitally? Should I try and find it digitally? Would it be this one?
Hi, everyone.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes, go down.
Where did you end on?
after Westwood, Connor, I wonder at the suggestion,
Just speeding up and down Westwood.
pretty far
Oh,
down
that's
there.
it. That's weird.
After
Okay.
that, at the end.
I wondered if the suggestion of speed humps on Keeneland was due to the recent accident when the car went into the electrical box. And I wanted to point out that a car also recently ran off Westwood into the ditch on the east side of the road. I walk up and down Westwood regularly as my in-laws, who care for my kids during the day, live at the upper intersection of Westwood and Woodland, where Woodland dead ends. It can be quite dangerous, especially when pushing a stroller, as there is no place to step off the road due to the drainage ditches. And often cars will swerve around us or give us dirty looks, as if we're walking along a highway where we shouldn't. This is a neighborhood, but the folks cutting through don't seem to see it that way. I appeal to the city to consider speed humps on the short road in addition to those that may be added to Keeneland. Many thanks as always for your attention, Jennifer Combs. The from wasn't from Jennifer Combs, so I thought it was from somebody else. So the city answered her. Another one is from Brett Pierce, 301 Falling Creek Road. Hi, Chuck and Mike, I got your emails from our city councilman, Jason Graham, who is also included on this email. This one is also from Jennifer Combs. Do we read multiple emails from the same person?
Generally, no, you have
Okay.
one chance at public comment.
Okay, that's it then, from one person. Most of this is all from one person.
Okay, thank you, Karen. All right, we'll move on to discussion/action items. We'll start with Jacob Paswick for the Tributary Greenway Network update for Spotsylvania County. A reminder to everyone, and it might be a part of the presentation, but we are going through all 5 jurisdictions at the BPAC meetings and reviewing our Greenway plan.
Here we go.
Good.
There you go. All right.
All right, so this is Spotsylvania County's update. I just want to kind of give you an overview of how, what I initially wanted to do is really focus on the Greenways plan and what's changed in time in the Greenways plan initially. But then also to provide an update on how we've been implementing these plans consistent with our comp plan and the Greenway plan, just to show there's a lot of momentum underway. And this is one of the reasons why I've been advocating for ultimately building a regional database that actually starts tracking progress. So you kind of know it's coming. I don't think people know a lot of the things that are coming. So I try to focus chiefly on, get this thing to go, I don't.
Try again.
Here. Just look at like a.
Sorry about that, Jacob. Just for now, you're
Up here.
probably letting go.
And the keyboard,
I can go up.
Yeah,
I'll just go up there.
that'll work.
All right. Okay, so again, one of the things I did was I started looking at this Greenway network. Chiefly the first tier and second tier Greenway links. I know it's the Greenway network also goes out beyond the ones that are considered higher priority out into the west parts of the county and some out down south. The majority of our first tier and second tier within our priority development boundary are just extending outside of that. And so within that network, I started looking at where we actually have changes from that plan. The first one that I have here is a VCR alternate route. It's a reroute. Instead of the route turning, it comes out VCR trail, goes to Gordon Road, head up Gordon Road. And then the way it's historically been drawn, it would head up Harrison to Old Plank. Well, Harrison's very tight. It's a widening project with homes that are really encroached on that corridor. And my understanding is the only thing that could really fit in there are sidewalks. So with that being said, that just not being a viable option, we've just shifted that road from Harrison. Instead, it continues up Gordon Road a little bit further north and then turns down Old Plank. And the only thing I would say also is we do have the GIS to back this up. So you can see those changes. I'm happy to share that with you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Some of these changes have already been made in our comprehensive plan. This one in particular is actually an inactive amendment that we're trying to lump as part of a larger comp plan amendment in advanced smart scale. So we plan on getting that through before August 1st.
Okay.
So that one ideally will be adopted by them. The second one, this is Salem Church Road. The regional plan has historically identified the entire corridor as a sidewalk shared use path. And that's what we had done as well until around 639 STARS study came out and really started looking at what was engineering viable and space viable and really got into the weeds. And so the ultimate recommendation on this is instead of having it as a second tier greenway all the way up to Route 3, what's really in terms of a pathway to connect with the VCR trail, because the VCR trail comes in at Salem Church, the best northbound option would be from Kennedy Lane down to Harrison Road, and then obviously, so you'd have a connection down south and a connection up north. That was what really came out of the Route 639 study, so we have a bit of a scale back on the line there, that's what I would say. So that will be a change on that one.
Can I make a quick comment?
Yeah.
We'll be holding a virtual public meeting. It was supposed to be like May 9th or something, now it's the 23rd. But the consultant needs to check with the county to make sure that it doesn't conflict with another
Okay.
existing meeting.
Okay.
That's on the horizon, you should get a call tomorrow.
Yeah, and the other thing is on this one specifically, the trailways plan as well as our thoroughfare plan is being updated as part of this comp plan process to acknowledge that Route 639 process, and those recommendations for bike ped are outlined in the table, so. All right. The next one is the Deep Run Trail. There's opportunities here with direct connection to the East Coast Greenway corridor. The East Coast Greenway connection to the city is via Tidewater Trail and Dixon Street. So we have historically proposed a Greenway Trail literally coming right off of the East Coast Greenway and going back up through the Bowman Center and ultimately to the riverfront. The county has over 60 acres on the river that is either forested, undeveloped, or a water treatment facility that's being decommissioned. And there's a lot of opportunities there with some mixed use projects recently being approved, upper spots redevelopment with apartments and a brewery's moving in there. To try to create more of a mixed use destination that we wanted to really have. And there's a tourist attraction already back there. There's the Rappahannock Railroad Museum. So there's an opportunity there to really feed into that East Coast Greenway network. And that's something that I would say there's an opportunity there, even as a secondary Greenway link, because it does connect directly in short distance to the first tier East Coast Greenway. And we have some progress with that as well. That I'll show shortly. Another one for a direct connect short distance is to consider adding the East Coast Greenway auxiliary trail system to complete the VRE station connection south of Route 17. So the East Coast Greenway comes down to Benchmark Road and then down 17 through the east-west study though. We were able to determine Eagle Drive, and that's another one that I have in here. Eagle Drive to Massaponax Church Road. But with that being said, there is a southbound trail linkage that we'd like to get direct access to the VRE station and developing mixed use there. And I'm happy to report for bike ped purposes, there's been a large project improved that will construct fairly significant trail infrastructure. Basically half the distance from 17 to the VRE station via Crossroads Parkway. So that's why I think there's an opportunity there to note that one, even as a secondary. The Eagle Drive linkage, as I had stated before, that would actually be the recommended route. We had actually vetted this years ago with CSX on where they preferred bike ped crossings of the rail. They obviously don't prefer new crossings. They don't prefer at-grade crossings. So this situation, we have an existing tunnel across from Marilee Carter Park. That was actually favored back years ago. Obviously, that have to be re-vetted again. It's been a while, but that is a recommendation out of that study.
Jacob,
Yes.
question, that's off of Benchmark Road, goes under the bridge, right, or under the rail, right?
Yeah, and then down Eagle Drive, which is a fairly, there's really nothing along.
Yeah.
Eagle Drive.
That was my question. There's nothing down there, so I don't know if there's any plans for future redevelopment down there. There's like
Yes.
3 homes in there. Yeah.
Yeah, that area has been historically targeted as part of economic development, growth, employment center, and mixed use type of development. We just haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Yet, but I think there's a real opportunity there. And frankly, Eagle Drive, I think, as you will see, we've had a lot of success with private development proffers and frontage improvements as projects go along. We're actively looking at our plan and saying, yep, there's a plan for implementation here to keep this going. And these trails to nowhere are slowly piecing together, as you'll see shortly.
That intersection at Lee Hill School Drive and Massaponax Church Road needs work.
Yeah. And one of the things that's happening right now is the county is really focused from the west, slowly improving the Route 17 corridor and widening it out as well. But incrementally, right now, the bridge is being replaced over 95, and that's stretched out to Hospital Boulevard, and the county's looking at Hospital Boulevard to Cosner next. So there's a lot going on. Smith Station Road, candidate, this is an extension of the Spotsylvania Parkway Trail System. One of the things that we try to do is take existing trail system that already have users and try to expand on that network, start building length. Smith Station, Road is just on the western end of Spotsylvania Parkway Trail, and there's a gap. And then we have a project called Cortland Park, which has a shared use path that dead ends on both sides. Fortunately, we're able to get a letter of support from the homeowners association from that community. They obviously want to see that gap closed to be able to access the Spotsylvania Parkway Trail. And really, you'll be able to take that all the way to the hospital, and Hospital Boulevard system is expanding. So that's one that I just wanted to bring up as part of this system, that we do have a TAP candidate, and preliminarily, I'm hearing we may have good news on that one, that it may be awarded. And this is just a example of what's going on right now. So you have your existing Spotsylvania Parkway Trail. I'd also notice it's a very controversial case, but there's a Sheetz gas station that was recently constructed here through a public enabling process, special use permit. They actually are they constructed a shared use path along this side of Levels Road and a sidewalk here. And they're gonna have sidewalk improvement here with the whole sidewalk shared use path, different sides of the road. The TAP project would continue on this gap here and close this before hitting Portland Park. And that would be an existing section of trail there. So we're slowly building on existing networks in different directions.
And that's out of the way of the future widening, I guess, right? So it'll be widened in the future.
Yeah, so we're always looking at, developer and community goes crazy about it. And frankly, I don't want to advocate for something that I can get pointed to either and say, you made me build that and spend all that money and now it's going to be torn up. So one of the things that we've been trying to do with all these projects is secure the ultimate right of way and have the construction where any future road winding will be able to be accommodated.
Yeah.
So that's the Smith Station one. Nye River Greenway. This is a situation where you have a deviation between planned road network and our thoroughfare plan and how the greenways historically have been drawn. The grand vision was to have all these natural corridors, and I think we still would like that, but I will tell you, in terms of funding and prioritization and CIP project identification and allocation, we're not having a lot of local support for identifying off-road greenway trails through Parks and Recreation. Our transportation staff aren't really pursuing funds for non-road related projects. So in some instances where we have a nearby road project, we have taken those greenways and tied them in with planned road widening projects or new roads. In the case of the Nye River Greenway, what I propose in this area, and I can get with you all more on that, is to follow from Route 1, the new Guinea Station Road Extension Road, from Route 1 up to the intersection of Massaponax Church and Smith Station. From there, it would turn for a short distance down Massaponax Church Road and intersect with the Patriot Park Honor Lane entrance, and then go up through Patriot Park, which is a logical recreational tie, while avoiding having to tear up a bunch of existing sidewalk on Smith Station Road. So it's kind of a cost favorable thing as well. But that's one instance where we've kind of brought those two lines together, and you'll see that change. Unfortunately, the screen is so bright, you can't really see the contrast between where the greenways are and the line. So
Maybe if we turn off another light, it would help. You guys okay with that? Turn off.
Sure.
Think that would help?
I don't know.
We could try it.
yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know either.
If it'll help much or not.
Is that better, anybody?
Probably not. It's okay. The other one then, I got ahead of myself, the Nye River Greenway again, westward turns to Patriot Park.
Same.
I would suggest potentially upgrading the Massaponax Church Road corridor up to 17, up to a first tier greenway at this point. Maintaining that location, but upgrading it to a first tier greenway simply because of some significant private sector wins that we're going to have with proffered trail segments along the front edge. That road is actually planned ultimately for widening as well. The widening hasn't really occurred yet, although I'll tell you there's talk of a new interchange at Massaponax Church Road and I-95. It brings back an old idea of a Jackson Gateway interchange that was in the comp plan, it wasn't. Now it's back again. I've seen things come full circle, but now the talks at Massaponax Church Road, and that would certainly up the ante on trying to get that road ultimately widened. But yeah, we do have some wins there, and because of those projects coming, I'm thinking there may be value in increasing that level. I would note that the Church Pond Road segment that's identified as a greenway would be removed upon the East Coast Greenway reroute. As I talked earlier about the Caroline County connection. For those who are not familiar, way back, 2011, 2012 time period. Caroline County and Spotsylvania County as part of the kind of, when we were doing trailway, like the regional trail updates, we never used to meet this often regionally. Back in those days, Caroline County had kind of come to the conclusion with us that the connection would be at Thornton Rolling Road. Well, since that time, new planning staff and things have changed. They wanted to push it further south, and we settled a few years ago on Guinea Station Road. It tied in with the US 1 bike route. It was the same route. You had some overlap there. We've since that time and gone through that exercise, heard that they don't want to prefer that anymore either. So we're now looking at a route. Our comprehensive plan supports the shared use path going down to where Caroline's County is advocating for now, which would be down the Route 1 corridor. And we are already working towards getting that network built in Spotsylvania. So it's a formality at this point, getting an East Coast Greenway designation. That's what I would say.
Yeah. That one is the easiest place to get shared use paths. Yes.
I guess.
Where, when you get in
Like,
the rural
well,
areas.
I guess on a bike path, I hate bike.
Well, and that's,
Deadly.
believe me, that was one of the reasons historically I was always very hesitant about going. I kind of wanted to drop it into Caroline sooner
Yeah.
than later.
Yeah,
We are doing some things you'll see here shortly to try to get away from Lot 1 when we have the opportunity. North and
Okay.
South Roxbury Mill Road is part of that equation. But I will show you that here shortly. On the Po River Greenway, just the way it was drawn in that greenway, it basically comes across to Route 1 and then kind of shoots across to the Roxbury Mill area. Those lines have changed. They have already been changed. They've been split to a north-south route that's been identified as parallel to Route 1 to take some of the load off of development off of the Route 1 corridor. There's a new north-south road that's been in our comprehensive plan. And then we have some, I would say, quadrant roads or east-west connectors between Route 1 and that road. And that's what we've kind of tied that network to. And so we have some changes there. You essentially have kind of a two-legged change to the Po River Trail terminating at Route 1. And that's already adopted. North and South Roxbury Mill Road, this is the deviation from Route 1. So the way the plan works right now for East Coast Greenway would come down, if East Coast Greenway buys in, our plan still supports shared use paths no matter what the designation is. But the road improvement would come down Massaponax Church Road, down to Route 1, and then once it hits North Roxbury Mill, it would head down North Roxbury Mill, cross a planned new bridge crossing, because their bridge is not in there anymore, and then take South Roxbury Mill down to the Thornburg area. At Thornburg, we have Mud Tavern Road being widened right now with a shared use path on the south side. Industrial developments, and then the Kalahari Resort further south down Route 1 and a Flint Industrial Park as well, all have shared use path segments starting to go towards Caroline. So the little pieces are there. But what I'm saying is in the Greenway Trail showing the East Coast Greenway, we would deviate it off Route 1 and come north and south Roxbury Mill. So there'd be a little bit of a deviation. Mud Tavern Road at this point, I would identify as a second tier greenway instead of the first tier greenway as it's currently identified, simply because Mud Tavern and I have been identified tentatively as an East Coast Greenway alignment, but with Caroline, they have preferred Route 1. I would say I wouldn't take it off altogether. It's still in our plans. We're still getting shared use paths. As a matter of fact, on the county line, our broadest industrial park is adjacent to the Caroline County's data center that was approved. And there literally is a county connection now going into Caroline County with shared use paths. So that's positive news. It also leaves on the table, if whatever route Caroline County wants to ultimately go with. But those connections will be there. And this just kind of formalizes what I was saying, shifting that Mud Tavern Road over to Route 1 corridor, but head down Route 1. Okay, and then I just want to notice a little bit further out west, a little bit more, just for your FYI, because I don't focus on it the rest of the presentation. Out west, the Virginia Central Rail Trail, a lot of the trail historically was carved up, sold off to private interest. It's in homeowners associations. There's garages on part of it. There's development encroachment right on it. We've tried in some instances to be able to secure parts of that back for recreational trail usage. And back in 2012, we did secure a recreational trail easement from Brock Road to Jackson Trail East with a VLCF grant. It's an easement right now. The reason it hasn't really gone further is because right now there's no parking, no trailhead parking areas. There's no park to connect it to other than the national park. It just hasn't been a high priority because it's not connected to the rest of the system, but it is there for the future. So I am putting that one out there. And then the other one I would just reference is the Lake Anna State Park connector system, which is also part of the Greenway layer. It's not a high tier by any means, but with the S-Power solar project, we were able to secure recreational trail easements through the entirety of that project. And I believe the total was something like 5 miles worth of recreational trail easements, all down Dominion, the Dominion power transmission corridors, but it still was recreational trail easements. The thinking ultimately was with that system, it was going to be more of an equestrian oriented trail system in rural parts of the county. So it would complement the agricultural forestry and tie to Lake Anna. It's the Lake Anna State Park Connector Trail. Lake Anna has an equestrian trail system down there. So thinking was to kind of build off of that. The last one is this little question mark right here. This is something I just wanted to bring to your attention. The idea of connecting the Spotsylvania Parkway Trail system and the Nye River Trail with the East Coast Greenway. This is kind of a big hole in the map. We had some prior approved rezoning activity there. That roughly half of that project was wiped out with the approval of the Amazon data center, Cosner Tech Campus. And with that, though, we've been able to reimagine that road network. And so I just bring this in terms of connectivity and connecting in with the trail system. Spotsylvania Parkway Trail is coming here and that's built, comes up across the Spotsylvania Regional Medical Center, and Hospital Boulevard has a trail all the way down here, and it's now been extended. You can see the development going on here. There's an apartment complex and townhome community going in. The plan would be to continue that shared use path system down to we call it Jackson Village Parkway Extension, because that's a project developing on this side. I don't know what it'll ultimately be called, but take the Hospital Boulevard Trail and then run it here to Cosner Drive Extension, and then ultimately connect it with the East Coast Greenway. So you had this network. One thing I would say is this is the Cosner Tech Campus data center. With that project, because of planned road improvements, we were able to secure 4 lanes of right-of-way, with the project constructing 2 of the 4 lanes and a shared use path with it. So there's a piece to go with that project, and I'll show you that here shortly. But this is just something I want to show you for consideration, how this can connect all with that, and we're trying to build on that network. Not to mention the fact that Route 17, we have some progress with the East Coast, the East-West study, the Germana to VRE station. So again, I do have the map layers for this. I'll be able to share that with you all. Again, there's greater emphasis on linear trail projects, linked to planned road projects, and opportunities for frontage improvements. So with that said, that's kind of the Greenway update. What I wanted to do then is start really tracking our progress and showing you some of the projects that we have in the pipeline. And I focused on the Tier 1 corridors chiefly. That would be the East Coast Greenway, the Virginia Central Trail. So this is the East Coast Greenway north end. Our connection again is Tidewire Trail to the city. Again, back 2011, 2012. It used to be through Lee Drive and the National Park Service, but the National Park Service had a change of heart and didn't want the East Coast Greenway in it anymore. So we shifted our plans. And as a long range planner, I can't stand moving targets, Because you start implementing and you'll see we're starting to implement. If you drastically change that plan, now I've left these implementation efforts out to dry. And we're going in a different direction. So it can be really difficult. Fortunately, when that change happened, we didn't really lose anything. The projects I want to focus here are on Upper Spots redevelopment approval. This has to do with that Deep Run Trail and why I was thinking about adding that as a tier 2. An opportunity there. Smart scale round 5, benchmark road to Glenda's Way widening and shared use path win that we had received last round. And smart scale round 4, Beulah Salisbury to Shannon Airport along Tidewater Trail with an estimated construction start in 2026 that was approved. So this is the smart scale project to widen Tidewater Trail from the city line to the Shannon Airport. This will widen it to a 4-lane road with a shared use path on the Bowman Center side of the road out to the Shannon Airport. And here's the Bowman Center. And you have Lansdowne Road coming in here. We have a road called Lansdowne Road Extension that's been added to the comprehensive plan to add another major access point to the Bowman Center, which is, it's an industrial park with a lot of potential for more usage, but there's really only one chief access at Joseph Mills. The other access is heavily regulated, limited access, gated. And with residents now living here and industries and opportunities for recreation, we certainly want to establish better accessibility. And as part of this extension road, we're looking at running that Deep Run Trail. This is further down the Glenda's Way to Benchmark Road improvement project. This would include like ped crosswalk improvements, shared use path construction, and widening of segments of this road. That's been awarded as well, so that's coming. This is just kind of a view of that plan to ultimately widen Tidewater Trail and how that Lansdowne connection would go to Main Street. And here's where we start having a little bit of, and here's where we have some progress. This is that Lansdowne extension. It's part of a larger plan. To ultimately bring this connection to the riverfront and access some development opportunities back in this area. There's also a significant historic battlefield site here called the Franklin's Crossing site. This is the southernmost pontoon crossing during the Battle of Fredericksburg, and I think it was used 4 or 5 times throughout the course of the war. I would say it's one of the most noteworthy historic Civil War sites that is in the region that's inaccessible. It's just back in the woods and you can't get to it. There's no interpretation. There's no way to get to it easily unless you have a guided tour. Occasionally, some group will get together and get access to a private landowner. So we're trying to do more with that site. It is in county ownership. It's just getting to it. So that's something that we're looking at.
What was the name of it?
Franklin's Crossing.
Thank you.
Yeah. And this is one of the little wins on Deep Run. So with the Upper Spots redevelopment, that was formerly a Sylvania plant, had a number of names over the years. I understood the plant really helped the Fredericksburg area during the Great Depression and kept a lot of people employed. Upper Spots redevelopment is a series of large industrial buildings. The applicant actually applied for National Register status for the industrial park buildings and received it. So it's now part of the Virginia Landmarks Register and the National Register of Historic Places. But as part of that development process enabling, we were able to get them to construct a shared use path from Main Street down to Russo Drive here, where the Lansdowne Road extension would come in. So all we have to do is get to Tidewater Trail and then we're up to Main Street because this is being constructed privately. And so we've got a win there and we're trying to build on that. This is the north central section of the East Coast Greenway, Germanna Point Drive extension with a shared use path, estimated construction in 2032 for that. That was the latest from our transportation division. Route 17 bridge replacement, that is obviously underway. Bridge approval, we have proffers for that. FAMPO East-West mobility study. That obviously was very supportive of some of the things you'll see here shortly, as well as the East Coast Greenway Auxiliary Trail that I talked about for the Erie Station. Here's the widening project over 95. This is the East-West study, and this was the extent of that. The whole one of the bike ped goals of this was trying to connect the East Coast Greenway and the Germanna Community College and the Route 17 corridor to the VRE, and that's one of the reasons too why I'm trying to advocate for some of these auxiliary trail connections to fit into the larger network. But with that said, the Hunter's Ridge project, is, starting, what they've done as part of their proffers is from Hospital Boulevard over to Cosner Drive, along the south side of, along the north side of, or the south side of the 17 corridor, they're, doing the design engineering for final construction. They're basically getting it, all the engineering done to construct a shared use path and handing it over, so we have the design plans.
Just for the shared use path or also the widening project?
They have significant improvements proffered for the transportation of this. I have to provide those. I really focused on just the bike pad here, but yeah, they're doing significant corridor improvements as well.
And I don't think there's much, if any, right of way required, right? There's a good.
No, and that was the thing too. We, you know, what you'll see here is they're trying to provide it here. The sections in brown are what they're going to commission engineering for. They're not constructing it, but from Cosner Drive headed east, they are going to construct as a frontage improvement, a segment of trail. And that's the pink line here. So the segment you see here in pink is about 925 feet of shared use path. The section they're engineering is about 2,700 feet shared use path. This is the Village at Crossroads project on Crossroads Parkway. This is right off the East Coast Greenway route. With this project, you have approximately 860 feet of shared use path on Crossroads Parkway, 2,300 foot connector trail between Crossroads Parkway and Thornton Rolling Road. This is a connector road that they'll be constructing with that, and then they'll also be doing this shared use path along their frontage, but also replacing a sidewalk in front of our fire station with a like shared use path. So we have consistency and we can start actually implementing plans. The problem is sometimes you have old projects that were built absent plans, and now that there are plans, we have to correct some of these things. And so that's what's going on with that. Here is the south section, the AWS Cosner Tech Campus, Nye Village, Commerce Gateway. We have projects here. This is Cedar Forest, which is a small residential community. They did a shared use path on the east side of Massaponax Church Road. This is south of Route 17. That also includes an off-site connection to a school adjacent to it, Cedar Forest Elementary. There's about 580 feet of shared use path built there. This is the Cosner Tech Campus project. I had mentioned the 4-lane right-of-way and constructed shared use path in 2 lanes. This is that roadway right here. This is, if you view this, like that's north, this is going south, the way it's laid out. But in addition to this east-west road, any of the frontage here, and there will also include piecemeal segments of shared use path. There's approximately 2,600 feet along Cosner Drive extension, and then another 2,350 total feet along Massaponax Church Road with that project. This was for a data center, and they're moving forward. This is the Nye Village project. This was approved back in 2011, but they're coming in re-envisioning their project and re-rezoning it. This is along the Route 1 corridor, just south of Guinea Station Road. North, south, they're on both sides. I-95 is up this way, then this is going towards like Massaponax Church Road area. With that project, they are actually on their site going to construct a segment of Guinea Station Road extension. Guinea Station Road terminates at Route 1 currently. The plan is ultimately to take that over to Smith Station, Massaponax Church Road. They will construct this segment of the road with a shared use path, as well as an extension of River Run Parkway, which will meet it with a shared use path. We have a rezoning in front of it, which proposes closing this gap right now, all subject to their approval, but this would effectively build this with a shared use path along the Route 1 frontage to create a loop. And then they cross Route 1 with a shared use path all along their frontage there. So that gets you to that Route 1 shared use path segment. There's 1.4 miles to Route 1, Guinea Station Road, River Run Parkway extension. And then there's also additional on-site natural rural rustic trails within their open space area, but this would be about 1.4 miles worth here. This is the Commerce Gateway project. This is an active industrial park rezoning south of Hickory Ridge Road on the west side of Route 1 corridor. With that project, we have that north-south parallel to Route 1 road. This is another one where they're actually proposing 4 lanes of right-of-way. They're going to construct 2 lanes of it. With this project, we'll have a shared use path going east-west, ultimately to connect to a north-south road. The East Coast Greenway, however, is planned to be on the other side of the road, head down North Roxbury. So this is actually more aimed at our Po River Trail system, which is why we have the lakes. This is the Spotsy Tech Campus. This is a phase 1 preliminary plan for that project. This was a rezoning project that was approved. A little bit further south than the Nye Village project that we were looking at. This is the Route 1 frontage headed towards North Roxbury Mill. If you're familiar with that intersection, it comes together in a real tight kind of angle. It's a nasty intersection. One of the things that we're trying to do is improve that intersection condition. So when this project was approved, North Roxbury Mill is going to be cul-de-saced off and instead totally the existing alignment. It'll be totally rerouted to a straight line road that'll connect up with a Hickory Road extension road. So they'll kind of come together. But with that being said, we create more of a 90-degree angle kind of intersection opportunity there. Shared use path along all the Route 1 frontage and then up along their frontage on North Roxbury Mill headed south. With that project, and that's approved. This is a project known as Roxbury Commons. It's a little bit further south down North Roxbury Mill Road. This is a proposed residential rezoning. Don't know if it's going to be approved yet or not, but we saw an opportunity here since Spotsy Tech Campus already had started progress with shared use path. Instead of requiring this development to do a sidewalk on their frontage, we asked them, would you consider shifting your improvement across the street and building instead as a shared use path? They were willing to do that. So in an effort, this is kind of a rural area if you get back here. So in an effort to kind of maintain more of a forested buffer, and because there's a lot of rural residential around in this area, trying to maintain this a little bit more of a forested character, we figured it'd be best to shift it to the school side. And so they're proposing right now a shared use path extension down from Spotsy Tech Campus to the front of their project. That would be roughly 1,600 feet of new shared use path headed south, if approved. The next one, this is the bridge I talked about. This is not far from where we were just at. There's a bridge right there that's going to have to be built. The bridge is long gone at this point. But North Roxbury Mill turns into South Roxbury Mill here. This is a large industrial park development between South Roxbury and I-95. This project was approved. It's called Thornburg Industrial Park, and approximately 2,300 feet of shared use path constructed along the frontage of that project. This is an area of the county called Jackson Gateway. You go back to the 2002 comp plan, they identified it as a sleeping giant for Spotsylvania County. They wanted to be this big economic development powerhouse for jobs and tax revenue and all that. Nothing really happened until it all happened all at one time. So we're seeing a lot of this development pressure now. This is just deviating a little bit down Mud Tavern Road. This is the one I had talked about earlier, adjacent to Caroline County connection with their data center. This is broadest development. We had a lot of back and forth with that project. They're in planning commission. They're in public hearing process right now, so not officially approved, but they'll have a shared use path along their frontage, connecting with Caroline County. There's about 950 feet of shared use path with that. I'm sorry, it stepped ahead. It is about 1,800 feet of shared use path with this one.
Is that still Mud Tavern Road at that point? I mean, isn't that east of 95?
As far as I know, it may change in Caroline. I don't know if it is anything else. I could double check.
No, no,
later.
okay, I thought 609 was Stonewall Jackson from east of.
Oh, I don't know if it
east of
changed.
Thornburg.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, okay.
I
I just want to be oriented, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is east of 95,
Mhm.
but west of the Caroline County line. I always.
I'm at 606. Okay, yeah, I know where it is, yes.
I don't know,
By Bobby Orrick's place.
Yeah. So that's that project. So this is, now. This is I-95, this is Mud Tavern Road. That project was over there, Thornburg Industrial was up here. This is Flint, the Flint, Thornburg project, this is another industrial park project. Roughly 950 feet of shared use path, under review rezoning project, but that would construct that, just north of the Kalahari project. And then we get to Kalahari Resort, which is ultimately, it is a significant development site, that is underway right now. They will be constructing a shared use path along their frontage. With that one, about 2,200 feet of linear trail along their frontage with that project. I would say they really did push back in some of these areas a little bit further south on their frontage due to environmental. And they were ultimately not required to do their full frontage with that project. They did a most frontage improvement on that one.
I have a question about that though, Jacob. If they don't build it, how's it gonna get built?
Well, we've had, how so?
Well, I mean, is it
This
gonna,
project's under construction.
no, if they don't build that, if they push back on
Oh, in that segment.
that segment, is gonna remain a gap
It's-
if they
it's-
don't build it.
Well, the gap is south to Caroline County, which the entire, it's non-stop gap to Caroline County from.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So that's kind of where you go north here, this is primary development boundary this way, you go south, you're outside of our primary development boundary. There's not a lot of opportunities, other than frankly, road improvement projects. I don't know how else we get it. Other than a larger scale road improvement project.
That's gonna be a gap for a long time.
I have a feeling Caroline and a lot of the rural areas are gonna be a gap for a long time. I think that's the reality of the situation, because when I attend the East Coast Greenway updates, it's always, a lot of progress in urbanized areas, but there's just those corridors don't score very well. They don't have the volume necessarily. They may not have the need. They may not need capacity improvements. Craig Pennington was always, very kind of concerned about utilizing rural roads and impacting farm agricultural lands as well. So I don't know how to deal with that unless you get kind of one of those pennies from having deals like they had with Ashland.
Right, right.
I'm not sure. But this is showing progress
No, that's
for sure.
massive progress.
Yeah.
Do not get me wrong.
Yeah.
Just a question about that spot.
Yeah, that's where that currently stands. I did want to just quickly come back to the Mud Tavern Road. This is a widening project between Route 1 and I-95. That project is underway right now. That'll have a shared use path on the south side. Now, here's a funny little tidbit. When the I-95 bridge at Mud Tavern Road was replaced, Dan Cole was in our transportation division back then. And originally, the bridge had planned to have a shared use path on the south side, and it was value engineered out of the project. So we don't have a shared use path on the bridge. There's a sidewalk on the north side. That's it. So I don't know if there's gonna be a need for retrofit at some point, a new bike ped, or you have to shift it over to a sidewalk. There's always gonna be an issue now because there's such shared use path constructed from Route 1 all the way to it. And now we're getting shared use path progress on the other side of it. Got a big I-95 bridge in the middle, so that's a bit of a mystery to me. But there's 2,300 feet here under construction. I'm almost done, I swear. So looking at the Virginia Central Trail corridor, I just wanted to quickly go through this. Some opportunities here. Project pipeline, the region was successful in securing a shared use path down the Route 1 corridor from Kings Mill and the VCR crossing Route 1 down Harrison Road. And this not only builds on the VCR trail, but also builds on a VCR auxiliary trail system that we have in our plans. in addition to following the old rail bed. But this is a, awarded project. So that's a fairly extensive run of shared use path that we'll be expecting here, about 1.5 miles. Do you have any idea on the timeline on that one?
No, we
Okay.
haven't heard anything, but it could be as much as 6 years from the award.
Yeah, yeah, that's the hard part about it. It's just, I'm starting to talk about things that I'll be retired, not in 6 years, but I'm starting to talk about projects I'll be in retirement by then. But it's just the way it is.
Jake, which side of the Route 1 is that?
This is going to be on the west side of Route
Yeah,
1.
West-
You would think. that
Where all the
have-
car dealerships and
It's
stuff.
Route 1.
Yeah,
Wouldn't that be higher priority?
this would be Route 1 corridor on the, and all the way down to Harrison Road. So that's a pretty big win.
It is.
We're also trying to make headway with expanding the VCR trail system, which has, it's kind of sat there for a long time. It's being repaved by our Parks and Rec department, but it hasn't expanded in many, many years. It runs currently from Salem Church Road along the old rail bed to Gordon. And there's been for years talk about how do we get it across Salem Church Road safely.
Yeah,
Where it currently ends, it just kind of tees into Salem Church Road on a curve.
yeah.
And when you get over here, there's a lot of topo issues as well. So, thankfully with discussions with VDOT and, kind of coming to the conclusion that we need a safe crossing. Best spot is an existing signalized intersection. So fortunately, we applied for funds to, there was a TAP funded project
Yeah.
to extend the VCR trail up out of Harrison Road Park. There's a small asphalt trail extension currently coming off of the old rail bed trail to tie up with parking area and things of that nature. But with this project, we would extend it up to Salem Church Road and then follow Salem Church Road to a safe road crossing project and then head it back towards that fire project I just talked to you on Route 1 corridor to Harrison. So this project is actually coming along. About 820 feet extension here. The interesting thing about this one is we had to be really careful with help of VDOT engineering and our public works department. This is sitting on top of an old landfill. So trying to avoid the landfill as much as possible. And we found the best route possible was as recommended, and it also tries to not go into an old landfill site. The park has had some tremendous issues with settling. And they have to bring in fill and then it settles again. And so we're trying to avoid all of that. We don't obviously want to have a trail breaking down. So that's the way that would look, and that would bring you up to the intersection. And that's just kind of an engineering view of that one. I would say for the VCR trail extension, I checked with Paul Agnell in our transportation department. They have an estimated construction on that from 2024, summer of 2024 to 2026. I think it may start here this summer though. That's a good one. This is also a former smart scale win at Harrison Road and Salem Church Levels Road intersection. Will result then you have that trail coming down. Crosswalk improvements, shared use path running to the landfill and park entrance. And then there's other obviously intersection and road improvement projects. This is kind of a nasty area, so there's a larger improvement projects here, but.
Jacob, will that go all the way down to Loriella?
No, Loriella, okay, so down to Loriella Park, is a 8-foot wide concrete construction. Paths, it's not a sidewalk though, it's wider than,
Yeah.
that's 5. It's like we view it as essentially as a path. So when the 7-Eleven was built, wanted to make sure that they maintained that as a wider traverse down to Loriella Park.
You can get all
That's
of,
correct.
all of those residents from those apartments
Yeah,
on Salem Church.
yeah,
Get all of those guys, they could walk there, but they could take their bikes to Loriella Park.
yeah, absolutely. And that was the other thing. So we saw value in bringing that trail here because then we hit the intersection and we knew this was down here.
And that's an awful intersection.
It is an awful, and so this is an improvement project, and let's see.
And is that gonna go all the way up to 3, or it's gonna go the other way? It's gonna go out towards Gordon with is there anything?
The path,
Yes,
the path from here would come up to the VCR trail and then I talked about Kennedy Lane earlier,
Yes, oh,
the Route 639 star study.
right,
Instead of bringing the trail down at a 90-degree angle, it would kind of cut inland and meet up with the VCR and then run north to Kennedy Lane up Salem Church Road. So there would be north and south feeders. Okay. This is Harrison Road widening. This is a revenue sharing project that the county is pursuing. A lot of the funding requests come through our transportation division. I work closely with them to get bike ped added to those projects. But the Harrison Road widening project is looking at an estimated completion by 2030. And then that's to I-95 from Salem Church Road by 2030 with a shared use path on the north side. So here's your Salem Church Road. Here's those intersection improvements I was talking about. There'd be a shared use path running the north side. This is a project called Harrison Village that was recently completed. It offered a shared use path with that. So that's a piece of it. But by 2030, the goal with that is from Salem Church to I-95 to include a widened Harrison Road plus a shared use path. And then from there to Route 1, where you have that 1.5 miles we talk about, that'd be by about 2035 is the estimate on that. So this is basically the first stretch, and that would be 2030, you know, plus the other one that we just showed, and then beyond that would be out like 2035 timeframe. This is that Harrison Village project, which is in that mix. We do try to get things secured privately because it happens faster. And usually a lot less costly, so this one was constructed as part of that approval. And we also have another proffered improvement actually at the corner of Salem Church and Harrison Road. Some Hazel Run Convenience Wawa site. I've heard that, I'm not sure if they're gonna move forward or not, but they do have, this site does have proffered improvements to construct shared use path from the intersection to Salem Station Boulevard on the north side of the road, which if built privately would help advance that trail network through private development.
Gotta go home and share.
Jacob, I don't know how you remember all that.
I just don't wanna, I just figured y'all was probably bored with all that. There's a lot. Yeah, we are trying to implement our plans.
I know we're paying attention.
It's impressive.
Yeah, we are.
I was thinking about.
Yeah, we're trying to implement the plans as much as we can. And again, it's, we've had a lot more progress by tying in with our transportation staff and VDOT.
Yeah.
We didn't have so much when the goal was off-road greenway trails everywhere because the funding's not there, the staffing isn't there, the political will isn't there. And
Right.
so those are more challenging for us.
Is there still you're talking about,
That's cheaper.
Just,
talk about the VCR going down towards Gordon and then north to Oak Line?
yeah.
They're still gonna do, the roundabout there at Harrison and Gordon?
The roundabouts that I know of out that way are Andorra and Old Plank, and then Chancellor Road and Old Plank. So one of the things that we ran into when we did the VCR trail, we looked for the old rail bed alignment, and we did a VCR design and alignment study back with Kimley Horn Consultants back, say 2012. And we looked at the old rail bed, and they looked at all of the constraints to development of that trail because of private development encroachment, topography, swamplands, all of these things, and they identified some areas where deviations from the old rail bed may be necessary. There was also some areas where frankly, community just did not want, because it's in my backyard, privacy, blah, 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 a lot of different reasons, a lot of concerns. There were some areas the development was so encroached on the trail, we just didn't see a viable option to maintain in all instances. And some of these were carved up into little mini lots, and they all just had little slices of the trail. It was a tremendous effort. And there's no will to secure these by eminent domain
Right.
for a trailway. So in instances like that, where we get to Gordon Road, we've abandoned the idea of continuing the rail bed west in that area. So the plan then was to come up Gordon and then ultimately tie in with Old Plank Road, which is planned for improvement, to carry the shared use path down Old Plank Road to Tarpon Road, and then head south to, there's a Piney Branch in Catharpin. There's actually a shared use path segment sitting out there from years ago. That
Yeah,
was planned implementation efforts, but it's way before its time in a lot of ways. But the plan was to bring up the Nye River Trail up Catharpin Road and then through future park site and county land to meet up with that the rail bed easement.
mhm.
So there, it all does connect, but they're just pieces. But yeah, we'll eventually get back on the rail bed. It's just that stretch there and Enchanted Woods, Stonewall Estates, Red Rose Village, that stretch there, the rail bed, I think is lost cause in terms of the
too
trail.
dense,
Yeah,
too densely
just too much
residential.
going on. As a matter of fact, one of the neighborhoods, their residential street is the rail bed. So it was opportunity lost.
Is there any plans for improvement on Levels Road where it's 2-lane between 208 and Union Parkway?
Yeah, I've seen any imminent plans. The only things that I have seen are like what happened at Sheets there where they secured right of way and they secured some frontage improvements. I know that one of the problems at Levels is development encroach, but also some topography and ditching and things that was really nasty in there.
It's very nasty.
It's a nasty road.
People walk on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That road is actually planned for widening, but it's a significant cost widening project. Right now on Smart Scale, we're looking at the Route 208 corridor, which includes 208 Levels,
Mhm.
but not the whole linear stretch of the road yet. That's not yet on a funding list. It's in the county comp plan though.
Yeah, between the flooding and the, people walking on it, and
Yeah.
there's no shoulder whatsoever, and it does this, and it does that up and down hills.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
it's pretty nasty.
Yeah, it's hard to not take note when you're on roads like that, when you see people walking. I see it, and even like Levels Road, I
Yeah.
oftentimes think of some folks, some regulars I see out, and I'm like, it shouldn't be like that. 208's another one, I see that going on.
Everywhere I drive now, I look at people walking and go, oh my God, we need sidewalks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
you
you know
never-
how difficult it can get though.
I do.
When it comes down to funding and prioritization and scoring now and.
We've been trying to sidewalk Lafayette for, as long as I've been here.
Yeah, Lafayette is getting some additional sidewalk. There's a Formal Fork Smart Scale project that'll take sidewalks from Route 1 as far as the church sidewalks. So that'll be a big significant gain coming out of Formal Fork and sidewalks.
Yep.
From Spotswood Baptist. Yeah.
Any other questions? If not, we'll move on to scale round 6 update. Okay.
So I be brief. Matthew has left, so the person who would know lots of detailed things about the Stafford projects is no longer here. So here we go. So this is a basic rundown of the projects as they stand, the pre-application. Round 6 Smart Scale, we are in the pre-application stage. So this is when projects will be screened out and some will, I know, trust me, I know. Some will progress to the next stage and become full applications.
Okay.
So we have two sets here. We have FAMPOs and GWRCs. So for the FAMPO projects, we have 4 left standing at this time. The first one, Fredericksburg's project, Route 1 and Route 3 interchange operational improvements, screened out for mostly technical problems with the project. It is going to be resubmitted for the next round. So it'll have another chance, but it's going to be a little while.
Hey.
So what we have left are Butler Road widening, I-95 4-lane widening for southbound, US Route 1 Massaponax corridor intersection improvements, and the Route 208 pipeline study for Levels Road that was just mentioned a moment ago. And the ones with asterisks have a bike ped component. Next slide. And for GWRC, we have the I-95 exit 136 interchange Centerport Parkway to US 1 project. And then we have another 208 pipeline study corridor improvements. That is Levels Road and Smith Station Road in one project. Warrenton Road widening, Enon Road Centerport Parkway connector, and the VDOT Route 3 639 pipeline stars study. And that is one that Jacob was talking about. And all of those with asterisks again have bike ped to them.
We need screened out.
What's that?
You can only advance.
Oh, yes, I do. I should mention that. One of these 5 will also be screened out, but we are not certain yet which one it's going to be. Next slide. Okay, so the first one is a project that's going to be occurring in Stafford. It's Butler Road widening. So that's widening Butler Road from 2 to 4 lanes. Going to be reconstructing some turn lanes and closing some crossovers that are considered unsafe between Castle Rock Drive and Carter Street. There's going to be constructing sidewalks to connect sidewalks that currently exist. And they're going to do shared use path along the corridor where actually they're going to be connecting to the park that is south. Down there along the south, you can see the blue line down there is going to be the proposed shared use path. And doing some crosswalk improvements at the intersections. Slide. And then the I-95 4-lane widening, that has been a project submittal before, but this time they're just going to do southbound because that's where it's really needed. And of course, there's no bike ped. Next slide. That's just continued. Next slide. Unfortunately, that one has been screened out, so we won't talk about it. Better luck next time. The 208 pipeline study corridor improvements for Levels Road. That is an intersection improvement for Levels Road and 208, as well as a new westbound through lane and constructing additional some new turn lanes. And I believe, actually, Jacob, can you talk any more about this one? Because
I guess my question coming out of that VDOT meeting is.
We all have questions.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead. What was your question?
I was just wondering if, was there a decision ever made? Cause I hadn't heard whether the entire corridor was gonna be pursued or was it gonna just be intersection projects?
So we have an entire corridor application and a Just Levels Road application. And in one morning, I have 4 emails screening it in and out 4 times.
Okay.
So right now it's in. We'll see.
No, I don't know that I really have anything else to say other than it is intended, it complements the comp plan in terms of identified intersection improvement project and limited improvements on Levels Road headed south direction. One thing you'll note is shared use path part of separate improvements. It's not part of the project. So there's really not a big bike paddle at this at all.
Okay.
One of the things that I try to advocate for in this particular area because of that wider kind of concrete construction path down in front of L'Oreal Park is that wider construction terminates right here. This is just sidewalk. But what we're trying to do with the plan is there's a trailhead that's county maintained at the Breckenridge subdivision just down the street. Trailhead, asphalt constructed shared use paths headed back through the neighborhood toward up Massaponack Street corridor towards the back of L'Oreal Park. And the idea of this was part of this Massaponack Creek Trail system that would phase 1 in theory would go to L'Oreal Park and connect L'Oreal Park to the Route 28 corridor. Well, when that was constructed, it was constructed with shared use paths, but every time it ran into Massaponack Creek, put a sign up and said future bridge. And that happened probably 20 years ago.
Oh.
Before my time. And there's never been bridges. But the county maintains trail parking area and has a piece of property there for a trailhead. And there's these shared use paths literally that go to future bridges that don't exist. One of the things I was trying to do with some of these projects I talked to Paul about is like, hey, Yeah, and that was for the bigger corridor, because the corridor wasn't planning all of those improvements either. I said, any chance we can secure a shared use path with it, at least for a stretch from Levels down to that Breckenridge trailhead? Because then at least have a connection to Levels, and there's some impetus now to maybe get that thing going. And the problem with this stretch of 208, once you get past Hilltop Shopping Center, is it goes downhill really fast, and there's a steep
Yes,
slope.
it does.
And it's gonna take a real lot to get that
Okay,
shared use path in there. So that's unfortunately on Bike Ped, I don't really have anything. I don't
Right.
really have much to report on this project.
okay. All right. Well,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah,
Next slide. All right, so, and this one is the Route 1 Massaponax corridor intersection improvements. Left turn lanes, let's see, there's gonna be pedestrian accommodations at the intersection. Now, this one has changed so many times that
Yeah.
I'm no longer certain what the pedestrian accommodations are.
Will this take you all the way to the YMCA? No.
They started out very
Thought
ambitious.
I-
It started out very ambitious, but they were scaled back quite a lot. I think they are just mostly at the intersection.
yeah,
Right.
Leading to the.
that's right.
Leading, like, helping people get to the various convenience stores, unfortunately.
Again, I mean, we use the YMCA for parking, that would get all of those people in that area by bike or ped to the YMCA if they chose. So, I mean, if they could get to the YMCA, I would think that would be, the school is right there. Those
You know
dirt
that we
trails are
want
there.
To do it. You saw what we did in round 5, but I think I explained to you guys in the last presentation I did on Smart Scale that this round has become very unfriendly, the bike ped stuff. And we are hoping that that will change for the next round.
One of the other problems with the shared use path on this one is the historic church site. There's really limited opportunity to do that, and I'm not sure if it's feasible.
Right.
That's the other.
Goes back to what this gentleman was saying earlier about Stafford, getting people to destinations, yes, shopping places, but parks, lakes,
Yeah,
yep, places of interest,
Mhm.
yep.
those, and these are connecting, great connectors, but just like a little bit more to get to some of
A
these
network is
some of these other
only
places.
as good as, like, if you've got one gap in a network, you don't have a network.
I would, but even like Lafayette Boulevard, I mean, we got to the point where it was just like, because of how many feet to get to where we wanted to be. Cost was too much, then you have to break it into multiple parts, and then it's multiple applications, and it just.
Yeah.
It's never easy it'd be nice to have significant segments like that, but it all seems to come more piecemeal fashion.
It does.
So,
It's a struggle.
yeah.
Okay, next slide. So the next one is for a new roadway that Stafford has prioritized for many years and is trying to get built. The Enon Road Centerport Parkway Connector. It's a new roadway between Enon Road and Centerport Parkway to provide a new connection to Old Chapel Road. They are going to construct a shared use path between Plantation Drive and Musselman Park along Trustwillow Road to go with this project. I think that's a significant piece of shared use path, so that's a nice little bit of bike ped, at least for one of these projects. If Matthew was here, he would tell you more. But next slide. This one is a big project that's actually two projects coming together. The I-95 exit 136, Centerport Parkway to Route 1. So that's new turn lane improvements. Let's see. Some turn lane improvements at a couple different places. Basically highway improvements, basically, yeah. That's all it really is. No bike ped there. Next slide. And next slide. And next slide. Okay,
Wow.
yeah,
The Amazon, isn't there?
yes.
Giant, yeah,
Yeah, that's an area where there's gonna be a lot of that kind
Yeah,
of development, and they
that's-
need better highway access.
yeah,
So that's what that one is about.
yeah.
So this one is several small improvements linked together on Route 3, which we all know needs it, to make more safety for both automobiles and people. A series of through cuts to restrict conflicts on Route 3. from Salem Church Road to Old Plank Road with pedestrian accommodations at all of these signalized intersections. So there's gonna be crosswalks on Route 3 and crosswalks across both side street legs. There's also gonna be a sidewalk on Route 639 Salem Church Road to connect to existing side. So there's a few sketches to go with this one. So this is the tuning lane through cut. Chancellor Center, Salem Church Crossing through cut. And the last one, which is a Salem Church Road improvement, and there's also sections of sidewalk that Jacob was talking about for that one too.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. For Route 3. Next slide. This one is Warrenton Road. It's widening a section of Warrenton Road 4 to 6 lanes from Stafford Lakes Parkway to Village Parkway with sidewalks along the full length of that corridor and crosswalks at all of the signalized intersections. Slide. And then this is the Levels Road and Smith Station Road intersections and the area in between, 3rd westbound lane, and pedestrian improvements at the intersections. So beefed up crosswalks, basically. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, so those are the projects. The Transportation Advisory, the Technical Advisory Committee and the Policy Committee are going to determine which 4 move forward for the GWRC. That's 5 projects. FAMPO has one that has been screened out. That doesn't mean that any of the other 4 might also be screened out. We don't know what's going to happen, but this is the project status as of now. Next slide. So in May, this whole month, VDOT is validating the applications and coordinating with us. They're screening in those which meet the requirements. They're in that process right now. Then full application submission for those which make it. And then all of the supporting documentation is due July 15th. So we're all done through then. And then VDOT is going to review the applications and finish it all up. And game over August 1st. We're done. We put them down and wait and see what
No
happens.
vacation, June, July.
Excuse me, ma'am, but I leave every year, the last week of July and first week of August. I do.
Okay.
But I'm going to be working actually for my vacation, but. There you go. Next slide. And we have it. Any questions? Have we filled you guys with so much stuff that you're just.
Yeah, the tour of Spotsylvania, I'm still a little bit lost. Correspondence, we've got Austin Ridge needs.
Actually, I think that was you, wasn't it? Was it you, Aaron? Wasn't that or what? No, it wasn't you. I'm sorry. It wasn't you. Who was it that sent that in? Somebody who's not here. You can't give me correspondence and then not come.
John Merritt,
Hmm?
John Merritt.
No, it was not the person on the letter. It was, where's our list of people? It was it was our Stafford.
Clay.
Oh, it was, forgive me, guys. I don't remember who it was. I'm having a day. Well, anyway, if you could. We're gonna have to put that up to, you know what, we're gonna hold off on that until the person who wanted us to talk about it is here.
That'll work.
Can I ask the difference between comment and correspondence?
Yes, the person who authored this letter did not send it to us. So it's not public comment from this person.
I see.
It is a letter that somebody gave to me and said, I want to talk about this.
Okay.
And then we wanted to talk about it. So
Right,
it's
okay.
Not here tonight.
Additional staff reports.
Yes, so I regret to inform everybody that Foley has left us here at FAMPO and we will miss them. And they are going on to another job. So that's why you had to deal with my slightly incompetent reading of the public comments this evening. And we are going to be trying to hire another Title VI and public outreach person. Yeah. So that's my staff report, unfortunately.
All right.
Got any staff reports, Connor?
Doing good.
Connor is doing good.
That's good to know.
I would like everyone to know that there is an opening as posted on the website.
See how incompetent I am at public outreach? No, not really. There is an opening.
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
All right, member reports. Jacob, anything else?
You've heard enough from me tonight.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Aaron?
Yeah, puppies and butterflies for me. May is it's bicycle month. So we've got May 8th, Bike to School Day. And there are several groups in the city who are going to Hugh Mercer from different locations. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. And then for those of y'all who do visit or the Marine Corps half coming up in just a few weeks, this is kind of one of those unique open streets opportunities that I encourage everybody to take advantage of getting around on two wheels. It's awesome when all the streets are closed, just try to avoid the runners. It's a fun way to try out new connections, streets, navigate downtown.
When's the marathon?
That's May 19th, Sunday morning.
Brian, you have anything?
Nothing to.
Lynn?
Our trail builder arrived today, this afternoon. My trail boss is cutting out a large tree to make room so the truck and the machines can get back there. But he'll be at Mott's Reservoir. It's gonna be a half mile of trail. Now, this is a one-way bike only. We have the signs for it. We actually just picked the signs up this week, just a couple days ago. And they'll go in before we don't put the entrances and exits on before the trail is actually ready, just to try to deter the bros from hitting it early, because they will. And we've got to go in and we have to do the finishing work and corridoring to keep costs down for us. So we will be putting out some trail maintenance days for that, but that's coming up quickly because we're on the timeline of the trail builder, but that will have features on it. Every feature will have a workaround. If you do not want to jump off of the feature, there'll be a B route for it. On that, we have a spring maintenance day, spring prune, and then we'll have June prune, because everyone cannot wait and everybody wants us to cut back everything now. But if we cut too early, then we have to go in because it doesn't last all summer. So we're trying to get everybody to just wait, and they don't want to wait. So we've got a team of people coming in late May to do pruning. And we've asked the community if they have their own weed eaters, because we only have like 3. If they wanted to bring their own, that'd be fantastic. Then we will do June prune in June. We do that every year. It usually takes like the month of June, and we'll cut everything on the quarry and everything in Mott's. We'll cut it back. It will help with ticks, snake sightings. You can see the snake before you run over the snake or it bites you. Spiders, mosquitoes, briars, all sorts of us. We'll also work on sight lines. So the overgrowth, it will get bad on turns. We will cut the sight lines back. So there will be better visibility when people are coming around turns. So lots of trail building and cutting in May and June.
Paul?
Yeah, are you gonna ask Danny Butler for volunteers?
We will definitely be reaching out to Danny. Max will get with Danny to see if you guys wanted to come out to do some film.
Okay, thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah, Danny's
I
been a big.
volunteer Danny.
Yes, we all volunteer, Danny and Max, yeah, to make the coordination work, yes.
All right, Linda?
Yeah, I sent, can you bring up that email? So the statewide bike and pedestrian advisory committee met. I had been out sick for like 2 weeks at that point, so I did not go. But if you scroll down some more, Connor, there are some links there that I think you might be interested in, I'm sorry, at the top, there was a list of,
Maybe make it bigger.
yeah, in this email, there's a list of places that the state wants to put in counters, not permanent, but like a year there and then a year out, that kind of thing. And there's not a single Fredericksburg district location on there. So I was hoping that you all could get a copy of this, take a look at that list and let me know because,
Oh, hit propose new locations.
Right.
Right down there.
Yeah, there you go.
Is there a way to send this to us and we can get it out from our channel?
Yeah, yeah, let's do that.
but if you notice, I mean, there's just, there's nothing on there. That's not the,
I clicked on the
Oh, there we go.
proposed new locations.
yep, that's it.
Here we go.
Oh, it's all Northern Virginia. Oh,
Yeah,
it's North.
so it just seems like we missed the boat. I don't know what happened.
Oh.
Or maybe, Northern Virginia is just very vocal, but I would like to see, you know, a couple line items up there for our area.
Yeah.
And the people that would know best are either the people around this table or the staff at FAMPO. So, I think it needs a pretty quick turnaround.
That's strange because we have one here of theirs already.
Yeah, yeah,
Why
but
should
this
that
is-
one?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
So if you would take a look over that, if you'll go back to that email, please,
sure.
thanks. And you scroll down, you'll see some links that are very helpful. I can't even read them from here.
Register your bike to school events,
Right.
take or share the parent survey, register for the May 15 quarterly call, and sign up for the SRTS newsletters.
Thank you. So SRTS, Safe Routes to School. But if you are associated or involved in this kind of work, or you're a parent, please get on here, take the survey, make comments. The state bike ped center has a good website where they keep it updated.
This is great, yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Lee, anything for Ride Connect?
No, work back to school, back to wherever stuff is going on.
Spread the word. Yeah.
I announced them all. I had all the dates and everything at the last meeting and, I don't have the dates.
Yeah.
All right, I mean, for King George, Hop Yard is very close to finished. They've constructed all of their 1.5 mile of trail that runs along Port Conway Road. I then gave them a very long punch list of things that need to be corrected, like ADA mats that all are disconnecting from the ground at every single crossing. Well, all the ones where they use the little thin ones, when they put the good concrete ones in, they were great. I haven't heard anything back from them, so it'd be interesting. And very thankful for the help of Cassie the last week of April, when I met with our interim county administrator and our assistant to the board. And they said, no, don't worry about transportation, we're fine. And then one night I was driving and I'm going, I feel like April 1st is an important date for something that Carrie has told me and probably said a million times. And then I got an email, I got a call from Cassie on Thursday, whatever that was, the 26th, and said, Chris, how are you going to put these things in? And I'm like, well, I guess I'm the only one who, I was the only person left who has a login to the portal. So she goes, now you're on the Smart Scale one, and we're going to do a video call tomorrow at 11 o'clock, and we're going to get your 2 things copied over from, I think there were around 4 projects that we've resubmitted for round 6. And so, yes, she saved us big time in King George. So if we get anything, it'll be all because of her.
Wow.
Yeah, we still have, we have hired a new county administrator. He will start June 1st. He's coming from New Kent County, Matthew Smolnick. He has an economic development, community development background. Actually, his first job was with state parks, so he's kind of seen everything in government, which should be very good, but there are also a lot of questions on which department head positions will be filled. And Richard Stewart Jr., who in my words was the interim director of community development, turned in his resignation last week. His last day is May 22nd. So I don't think we may have a staff planner that was newly hired, but otherwise we're relying on consultants on the planning side. Yeah, if you'd like to apply for a job, we have that open. We also have our zoning administrator job open. If Jacob ever wants to leave Pennsylvania. I let Matthew leave before I tried to recruit him. Yeah, that's it. Anything else in business we missed? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn to July 11th.
Note that it is the second Thursday in July because everybody's going to bring the fourth.
Good point. Yeah, second Thursday in July, so
We should have a new.
Jake-
I'll do,
motion by Jacob
I'll make, a motion, yeah.
and turn second.
Second.
Thank you, Lynn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. We are adjourned.
Excellent.